Hello everyone, this is Nitin and today I'm presenting our project for GenAI lab, that is pan-sharpening using a AFormer based transformer. So let me explain what the project is and how we have coded our approach for it. So basically pan-sharpening is a basic technique under which we analyze different satellite images that come from various satellites that are roaming around our whole earth. For example, there is a Pavia satellite, there is a Botswana satellite and many more satellites. The space stations such as NASA and ISRO launch the satellite on a you can say every yearly basis. So we have different type of satellites capturing different areas of our world, but the major problem and the limitation faced by them is the low resolution of the spectral images. So what does this mean is that we have two modalities of images that are captured by every satellite. One is the multispectral image and one is the panchromatic image. The problem with the panchromatic image is that it lacks a lot of features. Since has a good dimension, for example, it would be having a very good height and breadth to analyze, but it doesn't have that much clarity because of the lack of channels. It only has one channel. That's why the name panchromatic. Whereas we have a different modality called multispectral image whose dimensionality is low but it has a high number of features. For example, the multispectral image can have a small size as small as 50 cross 50, but the benefit in a multispectral image is that it would be having a lot of channels so that we can analyze each and every part in it clearly. So panchromatic and multispectral image come with each of with their limitations. So what if we can combine both of them to form a modality which is higher in resolution as well as higher in depth, so that we can analyze a large area and also with a great depth. So the idea comes here to be that let's make a multispectral image that is as high in dimension as the panchromatic image. As you can see in the image itself, a multispectral image is having small dimension but multiple spectrums in the width size and in the height size. But in the panchromatic image, the length and width are good, but there is no depth, there are no channels, only black and white images there. What if we fused both of them to give us an image that is high in resolution as the panchromatic image and also high in the number of channels? For example, we if we have 102 channels or 103 channels in multiple spectral image, the result will be having 102 channels only but with a higher resolution. So what can be done to solve this? Various techniques have been analyzed till date to solve this problem, one being the GAN based approach where a generative adversarial network is used to generate those images. We have stable diffusion models and many more techniques. But under this, we have observed that there are many limitations of these models in generating images. So we try to have a transformer based architecture for solving this problem. We called it a AFormer transformer that will be used to fuse such kind of modalities in order to give us a good quality image. So basically what we are doing is that we are capturing these modalities from the satellites. We have a data set from a satellite named as Pavia Center. So we are having some area of a US city and we are having multiple modalities of that image. So what we are doing is then training a model, transformer based model, to just generate a high dimensional spectral image. So let's analyze the code for it. So coming over to the code part of our project, what we are doing is firstly loading the images dataset of satellites which we have captured from the Pavia Center and Botswana dataset. These are the publicly available dataset of satellites with the links are given in the documentation that we have submitted. And what we are doing is firstly generating some image patches from these big images. So basically these are very big images, you can say of thousands of by thousands of dimension. Firstly we need to break them into small patches so that we have a large number of training examples to train our transformer network. Since transformer is a data heavy network, you need a lot of data to train a transformer network. That's why we are coming with this approach of dividing a large image into a small patches so that we have plenty of data to train our model. So firstly we are loading the data file that we are having, and then what we are doing is that we are dividing it into patches. So we are having a panchromatic image whose patch is of size 160 by 160 but with a one channel, as you can see, and a low resolution ms image, a low resolution multispectral image whose size will be 40 by 40, but it would have a large number of channels, that is 102 channels. And the output will be obviously will be the high resolution ms image with high dimension as well as high resolution and depth. So what we are going to do first is that we need to convert our normal dataset into a TensorFlow dataset. Since TensorFlow is the basic ML library, DL library which is used in our project, we need to be we need to make a data compatible to the TensorFlow dataset. So what we are doing is that just loading each sample and then after converting into a NumPy array, and then after using a TensorFlow's function, we are and TensorFlow dataset class, we are converting this image dataset into a TensorFlow dataset, and we are using a batch size of 4 for training purposes. So after that we will be having a train ds named dataset for training our model, and for our validation purposes we have a val ds named dataset. For a small visualization of what we are working with, we have a small matplotlib based visualization. So we will be feeding this panchromatic image and this low resolution multispectral image to our model, and then what we are expecting is this unsampled multispectral image with large number of pans. So this is our ground truth, the middle image is our ground truth that we are going to achieve by our model. So I will explain the model architecture to you. So basically we have made a model by using patches. Then we will be using a patch embedding so that we have positional embeddings for each patch. Then we will be using multi-head attention. Multi-head attention basically have multiple attention blocks. We have used 8 attention blocks here to capture the minute and fine details of our image dataset. And then we have a AFormer block, which is the core heart of this model, that uses layer normalization and then multi-head attention followed by self attention block and then finally the cross attention block. The cross fusion block is basically the block where the keys and queries from one data set of panchromatic image are used and the values of the other data set is used, so that we have a good fusion between two types of images. This is the where the actual image fusion is occurring. So after that we have features from the encoder part. Encoder part basically consists of dividing into patches, normalizing, self attention, cross attention. Then after that we need to have a decoder. A decoder will be used to generate image. Since we are not directly outputting the embeddings, but we are here to generate a final image, so a decoder block will be used. So we have built the decoder block with the layers, namely convolutional layers only, because our output is a image only. So after this we call this function that forms various input and various functions related to running each and every part of the model as listed here. For example, inputs, patch embedding, encoder, then cross attention, then decoder. So here is the final module structure. As you can see, we have different layers from our patch embedding layer to the multi-head attention layer to the cross attention layer and finally the decoder, as you can see it clearly. Then coming on to the laws used for training this model, we have tried various losses, for example the downsample loss, spectral loss, spatial loss, L1 loss, unsupervised loss, and finally come up with using a mix of L1 loss and SSIM loss. So L1 loss is the basic L1 loss, as we know from our knowledge, that it just gives you the absolute value of the pixel differences. But using a alone L1 loss didn't give us good results. That why we used to another loss function called SSIM loss, which is a structural similarity loss, which will be used to analyze the deeper structure. So alpha value of L1 loss and 1 minus alpha value of SSMI loss. So we are training currently on 30 epochs for this, and after a fair negotiation we are having a very less validation loss, that is 0.14. And now let's see what our model has actually done. So let's infer one sample from our validation dataset. So after inferring, this is what our model has done. This should be the ground truth, but this is what our model has done. It is quite familiar that it has done a good job. We need to compare the AFormer fused model image with the LR band 0. AFormer fused image can be seen to have a good dimension and good analytical capability than our LR band 0. So we can say that our target is achieved. We can improve this performance further by using denoising in this model and also exploring a more large data set. The basic structure would remain the same, just feed the more and more data to the input and we will see good results. To have a fair idea of what our model has actually done, we have used a metric called spectral angle mapper. To generally see the validation, we use metrics such as accuracy, precision, etc. But for the spectral images, there is a special metric called spectral angle mapper. You can see that graph of this. So we will be having a ground truth image, that is the reference spectrum, and the spectrum of the image generated. So the spectral angle is the difference between the spectrum of these two images. This is called a spectral angle. The small is this angle, the better is our results. The ideal value of a good fusion result should be a spectral angle of 10 to 20 degrees. And in our case, the spectral angle comes out to be 15.10 degree, that is in our range of a good accuracy. So this is what we have done to fuse different type of modalities. Hope you are clear with the solution. And after analyzing each and every part, comparing it with different papers, we can say that our model has done fairly better than the previous scan and diffusion based models, and also the transformer models which were tried earlier. So we can say that it's a really good approach of fusing multispectral and panchromatic images with a transformer based model, and we are seeing a good scene in it after we can presenting it into different research papers and research conferences. It is a novel idea that can be propagated further and researched further for better results, and hence we are done with it. Thank you and have a nice day.